Just last week, Veeam released their most recent beta for Veeam version 13 for their backup and replication product suite. This is the next major release that is coming out either later this year or early next year, which has had significant changes to the way that the platform is built, where it is now coming out on a Linux all-in-one ISO as well as a OVA. There has been quite a number of changes between Beta 1 and Beta 2. And so in this demo that I'm going to run, we are just going to cover off installing the from the OVA, which was not available in the first beta. So let's go ahead and install OVA for Veeam version 13 through ESXi. So in this, it's going to be pretty much the same way that we install an OVA. There's a few things missing, and I'll talk about those as we go through, but they're all configurable once it is up and running. So let's go ahead. We can select your virtual machines and go create register VM. From here, we want to select the deploy a virtual machine from the OVF or OVA file. Simply click next and go ahead and grab that file. Now mine's sitting locally, so I'm just going to drag it across, and we're going to give this a name. So in this case, I'm just going to call it VBR V13 B2. So it is nice and descriptive. We'll go ahead and go next. Here we can just select which drive you want to install to. So one of the things that has changed between Beta 1 and Beta 2 is that the size of the disk. Now it hasn't really changed too much, but it has dropped down from the 256 gig for disk 1 and disk 2 down to 240 gig. So not quite a massive change, but it is at least something. So in here, we just select a target. So I'm just going to go ahead and select one of my drives that's free. Then we can select from here, we can select the size of our disk provisioning, whether we want thick or thin. I always do thin just for these demos, but depending on your environment, select what you need, select your network, and we want it to power on automatically. As mentioned, there are several pieces throughout this that have that aren't included in the configuration file, so you won't be setting your IP addresses, you won't be setting your host name through the OVF or the OVA file. This is all going to be done once the appliance has deployed. So I'm just going to click finish, and we'll come back once it's installed. Once the OVA deployment has completed, we will then have the VM start up. As we can see in the console here, we can just go ahead and select that we want to start the Veeam backup and replication portion from the grub menu. So this will start to go through its booting process. Once we get into it, it will be in the configuration, straight into setting up the configuration, which is a little bit easier than when running it from the ISO through the install process. This will make it 10 times easier to deploy rapidly. So once we are at the install screen, we can go through the configurations as needed. And from here, it's just a case of going through, reading the EULAs and accepting. So we can go ahead and do that. Click on accept. We need to give it a name. In this case, VBR V13 B2. And all right, there we go. So once we've given it its host name, make sure that you have your A record configured on your DNS server already, and then we'll go ahead and go next. And so here we can just go through and check what network adapters we've got configured. We've just got the one because that's part of the setup. And then let's set the static information for the IP. So we can just go into static. we'll give it its IP and make sure that the IP address matches what you have configured in your DNS. Then we go ahead and create the mask, and then we also just add the gateway, straightforward. And then if you've got IPv6, you can use that as well. But in this case, let's just do the IPv4. And then your DNS servers, you can add and add those. Just click apply once you've configured that. And if we just take a quick look here, you can see that you can enable and disable the NIC. If you have multiple NICs and you want one disabled, or if you want a certain one that is disabled and enabled, your options are there. You can also configure this to be DHCP if you need to. And then under the advanced screen, you can do further edits on the on your Ethernet adapters. We don't need to do that right now, so we can just quit out of there. Go back to the configuration page. It will take you back to the license, but you can just go accept, but your configurations will still be there. And now we'll go next. We can set our time servers. So in this case, I want to change my time server and also my time zone. So we will select the local, and then we'll edit our time servers here. So in this case, I will again use a local NTP server or local to my country. And we'll just go ahead and accept that. And then you can also go through and do a sync if need to. We can then confirm the current date and time. Once that's done, we can go ahead and go next. Now, in this section for the host administrator, there is the username and password. Now, it is the default username that is there, which is Veeam admin. Now, this will be for when you first log in. Once you log in, you will be able to configure other usernames and share that configuration. There is a strict password policy that you will need to go through. So just make sure that whatever password you put in does meet those requirements, and we can go ahead, go next. Okay, when we set that password, we do get asked to do multi-factor authentication. It does give you a code that you could use, but it also gives you a QR code that you can also scan on your phone into your MFA app. Once you've configured that, then you will be asked to confirm by entering its 6-digit code. Put that in and it's all configured. Next is the security officer configuration. In this case, you can now go ahead and skip this if you do not need it. If you are going to skip the security officer configuration, then you just need to go in and type OK to skip that, and we can move ahead. And we'll just skip it for this demo. However, I highly recommend that you do configure a security officer, particularly in your production environment, and make sure that that is meeting all your information security requirements within your business. So we'll move ahead and you'll get your basic summary and you can just go finish. And this will go ahead. There are 12 steps that it will go through in enabling all of the services that are required. And once that's finished, we should be able to log in. We can now see, once all the services have started, that we received this splash screen. It will give you your details and logging into your V13 deployment into the WebUI. There are a couple of bits that you can note down here. We have the product name, the IP address, the host name. Then we've also got the host management console. So this gives you the default port to getting into the management side of the appliance. And then there is also the WebUI. And while we're on this, we can take a look to the side here and we can see what the hardware configuration is for each of the components. We can see that over here that the CPU is 8 vCPUs that are configured. with one socket. Then it's 16 gig of memory. Then there's the 240 gig hard drives, hard drive 1 and 2, your network adapter, and the rest of your configuration that is there. So without further ado, let's move to the WebUI and take a look briefly at the configuration. So if we head over to a new tab, we can then go to the IP address in this instance, accept your self-signed certificate for the moment until you configure and set that up. And once that loads, we will get another splash screen that will ask for the username and password that we'll be able to log into. So if we take a look, we can go Veeam admin, put in your password, and we will log in. So once we open for the first time into the web portal, you can see the host component updates that are running at this point in time. Now, this is an all-in-one deployment, so you do have your proxy and your repository both running on this build. So they will be running by default at the start, and then you can add additional proxies and repositories external to the appliance afterwards. So once it has gone through the host component updates as part of the initial installation, so that it's bringing everything up to date with from the update server, then we will be up and running again. Okay, we can see that the host components have been updated. There are a couple of warnings, but for the moment we will just leave that. Keep in mind that this is a beta, so there are going to be a few issues that will potentially pop up. So let's moving forward, we can see that I need to add my license. I can go ahead and install that license from the settings menu over here. If we click on the cog, we can then go into our settings menu. Here we've got many options that we can go through and set. So notifications, event forwarding, set our credentials, passwords, so our cloud credentials for if we've got Azure or AWS for offsite and archiving, our license information, which is where I'm going to install our license. We can go ahead and just browse, and then I'll be able to install that. Here I have my license, and we'll just click install. We then have the update settings. This will need, is obviously still in being processed. But now that the license is there, we have the ability to do the updates. This is quite possibly what the earlier warnings were for, but this is now licensed, so that should be able to take care of itself. Now, in this case, this is the automated updates that are pulled from Veeam themselves to make your updates and maintenance process much smoother. Instead of having to download your ISO and go through the update process that is currently with the Windows version. We also have Veeam Intelligence. You can set your different levels there. And you can also change your appearance now. So there is now the dark mode or your system mode. So we can go ahead and apply the dark mode, and you can see that this is now all nicely green and black and multiple grays. It actually looks really cool, but in this case, let's just go back to light mode for now and take a look at the other components that have been updated in Beta 2. So on the overview screen, this now actually shows you live data. For Beta 1, it just showed you some dummy data to give you an idea of the dashboard. However, in this case, the dashboard is now super interactive. You can also drag, and the window will dynamically size to fit your screen. So that is also working well. You can create your jobs, your backup, look at your repositories, your proxies, manage servers, log events, and your dashboard data if you've got VM1 configured. So that is deploying the latest Veeam 13 Beta2 OVA to ESXi. So this is a much welcome change. The updates that are coming very quickly. There are a lot of big improvements that are happening. There are still quite a number of things that are missing in the UI. There is still a lot of room for improvement, but we can see the direction that Veeam is going with the changes going from their current Windows-only version 12 and lower versions to the new version 13 that's running on Linux. It's quite powerful. It's got quite the big changes of bringing in the update server, bringing in HA, bringing in multiple other use cases that have been raised over the years. Let's keep an eye out for when it goes GA, and it looks to be a great product. Thank you.